Hello and good afternoon. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Len Jahi, and this is the different perspective. Most of us are either single parents or just young moms or widowed. And when we are out here on the dating field, we expect that the person that we find as our new partner suddenly takes up the obligation or the responsibility of being our child's father. In today's conversation, this is a topic we're going to explore deeper to understand from both a feminine and a masculine point of view. And I will use myself as an example, both as a child and as a parent. Well, I will start off by saying this. Being one, I know the expectations we have. I know when we are dating, we're looking to date out here, we're always thinking, oh, nataka mtu mwenye ananichukua na anachukua na watoto wangu. Unaona, we always just assume that the partner that we find is ultimately just ready to absorb the responsibility without it being a conversation or whether or not they want to. Until I met one person, and I don't hide the fact that I have a kid. I do, and I definitely give the details of how the nature of the co-parenting is. And I've always been thinking, hata mimi nasema mimi nataka mtu mwenye akinipenda na nipenda na mtoto wangu, mwenye anachukua na anachukua na mtoto wangu. There's the very innocent part that expectation comes from. But then we're so driven by that innocence of the question that we forget that the other person who's coming into our life is also just different on his own ways. So when I had this conversation with this particular person, this is what he said to me. Like, see, I like you and I know you have a kid, but when it comes to assuming the roles of a dad, and I want us to to listen to this very carefully, because people could twist it two way. Ati huyo mtu labda hakupendi ama kupendi na mtoto wako, ama it's time for us to listen to the voice of reason from a man's end that gives us a different perspective from how we come from with this expectation. This is what he said. Leah, I would like to be very honest with you. It would be nice if I got to know you as a person, right? And let me grow into the kids. It might not have been what I wanted to hear, but it was an honest feedback, because we just suddenly assume when you find people, they will just take us with our kids and they'll be responsible for that without it having to be a conversation that it's both hard. When he said that to me, I was triggered and I wanted to be defensive, but then I just realized I don't know enough to be defensive about it. First, when that came out, my ego charged in. But I think for me, I've gotten to a point where I can do a quick diffuse of ego before I counter a conversation. So it's not a trigger response. It was more of me trying to understand where he's coming from with this line of thinking. Imagine this. You have grown out to be your own person throughout life. You've had different life experiences that have shaped you in one way or the other. And as a man, there are so many things that are expected of them that we suddenly assume the father figure role they wear it like a suit. Even as a woman, I think it's important that we take time to just date our partners, get to know, are they the kind of man that will be proud fathering our kids, or are they the type of people we would want in our kids' life? Can we just have a window period that helps us analyze and see things more objectively other than emotionally, and how this will impact our kids, whether or not they're ready to take up the responsibility of having a child that is not theirs. If truly we're going to talk about love is very objective. I want to use the word objective because it's not manipulated to serve a certain situation or manipulated to get a certain thing at a particular time. But in having those tough conversations and saying, enyewe, it makes sense that we should date first, get to know each other more, see how we grow into, because relationship as lazimishwangi, especially when somebody who's had a step parent, I know it was tough because I lost my dad and I had a step parent, something that I wasn't ready for. So that brought in a lot of friction within the family, within the home. It caused me to grow out so differently, and in so many ways I had to deal with a lot of pain, either if it's self-inflicted or just me not trying to understand. But as a parent, I understand my mom needed to have somebody to just help her through this life. So from a parent perspective, I would understand where she was coming from. But as a kid, I wasn't a parent then. As a kid, I just felt like my dad is being replaced way too fast. And I would have wished for it to have been a conversation that I was also put into the picture that, hey, well, we're going to be having somebody new into the home, and I would want to know how you feel like. But we know this, our parents were not as liberal as we are right now. But I feel like it's a very important conversation that needs to happen, especially if your kids are at a point where they can comprehend what's happening. It's important to bring them on board on how this will affect their lives, and try and have it as a conversation that makes them more agreeable to the new relationship that you find yourself in. Because this is the thing, if that conversation is not had, there's going to be conflict that may end up not being resolved. And most of our homes, we find ourselves in those situations. Ama unapata watu wanavumiliana, wanazaa watoto wao, and then somehow the other kids are treated differently because hatukuchukua time kujua, are we ready to have you on board as a step parent or a new parent in this life? Is everybody ready? So kumekuwa na tu wounds twingi, and because hatutaki kudeal na hizi situation in a way make it more healthy, we just want to impose it cuts the wound deeper. So in this video today, I would like us as single parents to have a moment that the people we look to date, we have this conversation with them and know how they feel about it, as opposed to just assuming the fact that we are going to date someone new, they automatically take up the role without understanding what it is like to be a dad. Some people have never parented. The first kid they get to parent is somebody else's kid, and they don't know how to even create the bond. Let's not assume ati bora una date msee anakupenda automatically bond yake na mtoi iko. As a parent, unajua we also still struggle with the bonds between us and our kids. It's a learning process. So tutassume aje msee mwenye anakaa mwenye grow up so differently, hakukuwa around from Genesis, will somehow come suited up with a love for a child. I think it will be much more helpful if we are all reasonable and more acceptable. Let's agree to disagree and have negotiated arguments around things that will cause us to heal and make better judgment for us and our kids or the future generation. Because if we are looking to heal and to make better judgment, then we must be able to tackle difficult conversations of the situations we find ourselves in objectively. I don't know what you think, but this is my thoughts towards it. And had Dennis not told me that, I don't think I would have ever looked at it like that. And my past relationship with a boyfriend that wasn't my baby daddy failed because he understood I had a kid, He knew I had a kid. I didn't hide it from him, but he didn't actually internalize what it means to have a kid. So the moment we started living together with my child and him, he realized maybe he bit more than he could chew. I'm not mad at him for that. I'm not. Because this is the thing. Sometimes we force people into situations that they're not ready for. And when they choose themselves out of the situation, we want to be angry. Instead of being angry, can we learn and do better for the next relationships that we find ourselves in? I really hope this video gets you to think differently in a way that liberates you. So it's nothing wrong with you or being a single parent or having a child or a widower. There's nothing wrong with you or with your child. We just have too much expectations with people, and we bring them on with the assumption that they will just assume our lives as it is and forge forward without knowing whether or not they're okay with it. Can we at least engage people that we are looking to bring into our lives? Can we have these conversations with them? Can we know, are they okay? Is this what they're okay signing up for? And if they don't, that doesn't make you enemies. No. They just have different expectations from this. And if it's not in line with yours, wachana nayo, go date someone else. It's not cast on stone. And there's no one way of doing it. There are people who just take you with yours because they've had experience of being a parent and they know the challenges that come with that and they're open to it. But how do you expect somebody who's never been a parent, who's never cared for somebody, an infant or a young person, to just automatically assume the responsibility just because they're dating you? It's too unfair. It's a very unfair expectation. But until we are ready to have these tough conversations and see the difficulty in it for what it is, we will continue to find ourselves in this vicious cycle of having expectations that are not met over and over again. So until next time, I'll see you. Today I'm in a different office. It's called, that is the name, Tech World. They deal with CCTVs and laptops. They sell ring lights. So should you ever need such stuff like those, hata juu namfanyia marketing, should they need stuff like this, you know where to come to, courtesy of stealing the office space. You might as well as find a plug. So bye and see you next time. This is Wednesday recording on a Thursday. Adios.